everyone, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Martina Trucco here at Micron, and I'm joined by Mike Bokan, who's our Senior Vice President of Worldwide Sales. Mike, thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Martina. Thank you.
Mike, tell us a little bit more about what that means, worldwide global sales, because I bet this is probably the first time in a really long time that you've actually been in one place, because I think you're usually somewhere around the world talking to our customers.
That's very true. So my responsibility is leading the revenue side of our business, which is the account management side, as well as our field application engineers who are responsible for getting our products qualified and shippable at customers, troubleshooting, as well as our customer lab side of things. And you're absolutely right. This is the longest stretch in my career that I have not been on an airplane. And my wife of many years will probably attest to that. She's not accustomed to me being around this much, but it's been a good test of our marriage, and I'm happy to say that we're passing with flying colors at this point.
Sounds good. Well, maybe we'll have to check in with you again in another few weeks and see if that still is the case, but I'm feeling good about you guys.
Very fair, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about what this really means to our customers, because I can only imagine with such an uncertain time that the questions that customers are asking us are really different than what we typically have to handle. So what's on their mind? What do they want to know?
Yeah, it's a great question. Customers, just as we are looking for information in this environment. And so we have had, I would say, I personally have had more reach outs because it's very much more practical with the Zoom capabilities that we have to reach out to customers multiple times per day and have quick chats. And it's really been very beneficial. And it's been beneficial certainly for us, but for them as well, because they are absolutely trying to figure out, what we're hearing in this environment, what we're doing to adapt to this environment. Of course, we want to know how their business is looking, what adjustments they're making in their business, how we should plan accordingly to support them. So basically, I think, just the human need of interaction is there, but then certainly from a business side, fortunately, Micron is a very key partner for this collective customer base, and they want to know what we're thinking, and we certainly want to know what they're thinking and seeing in the market as well.
I can imagine this has been a pretty significant change for your team as well. So how have they responded? Because I'm sure if you're on the road quite a bit, a lot of them are likely on the road as well. And certainly it's a big change for folks who are used to being inside a lab and working on qualifications for customers and things like that.
It's a big adjustment for all of us. And I feel like we're continuing to learn and we're adapting and we're adjusting well. We have to continue that evolution because none of us really expected this environment. Tools like the one that we're utilizing right now have been incredibly helpful in terms of maintaining that communication. And even in terms of a lab setting, I was talking with the leader of our FAE team today, and we were talking about how the Zoom tool is being used in customer labs as well as in a Micron lab to really kind of compare notes and make sure that we're not slipping and losing ground on our product qualification. So incredibly valuable for us. I think the team has done an outstanding job of just having those reach outs with customers, making sure that we're very close in this incredibly dynamic market. We're seeing extremes from the infrastructure side of the business or the cloud side of the business that is just really robust right now. Demand is very strong for obvious reasons. The work from home, educate from home, shop, live from home environment that we're all in. And then you go to the other extreme that is where the more consumer-based side of things, whether it be automotive or smartphone, is really struggling to figure out what their next quarter, 6 months, balance of the year is going to look like. So having that ongoing dialogue that the team is generating with our customers and bringing me in and certainly even bringing Sanjay in on a number of these calls has been extremely valuable.
Well, I'm following up a little bit more on that notion of kind of what kinds of things that we're seeing out in the market. Certainly customers are seeing varying different kinds of responses that they're having to this. Let's talk a little bit more about what Micron's response has been and kind of what's that impact been in terms of the actions that Micron's taken to really help control the impact.
Well, we are certainly responding to what our customers are telling us, and then in some cases, making additional judgments beyond that, because I think we do have to sort of plan for what we believe the next 6 months or balance of the year will look like. Clearly, we're focused on the quarter as well and making sure that we deliver to the revenue plan. And with that, all the data that we're collecting from analysts, from our customers, really inform those decisions about where we want to drive wafer starts to support maybe upside demand in a certain category, how we may be mitigating risk in other categories. And the other thing that we're really working to innovate with our customers about is, I referenced the qualifications that really are very, very critical to make sure that they're proceeding as scheduled, both from our customers' perspective, because they need that product qualified and shippable into their platforms, and from our perspective as we build a manufacturing plan around expected qualifications. So a tremendous amount of innovation and creativity to figure out how, despite the physical distancing limitations, we can still keep our qualifications, and maybe engineers maybe not working shoulder to shoulder, but face to face in a virtual environment. I've seen a few slips, but generally speaking, we're continuing a very strong cadence. It's super important that we keep that going.
Well, and it's pretty impressive to see how robust the operation continuity really has been across the board. I think it's so interesting that you pointed out that the team is really innovating to find new ways to kind of keep these critical functions going in these critical operations. What do you think some of these learnings are that you're going to be able to take away from this as we start to think about kind of getting back into work in the offices, and as we kind of come out of this pandemic? Are there things you're going to be, you and your teams are going to be able to kind of bring back to how you operate on an ongoing basis afterwards?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we've all heard, read, and many of us believe that the world will be different coming out of this, not just in the near term, but even over the longer term. It will be a fundamental change element. And one of the things that I personally look forward to getting back to, and my team does, is the face-to-face customer communication. I do think, however, that one of the things that we've learned, and I've had this dialogue with some of the executives at our customers, as we're talking about the tools that are available now, we are learning that we can be a little bit more efficient with our travel. We don't need to maybe get on the plane for that 1 hour or hour and a half meeting. We're now much more comfortable and confident because we've been forced into this environment where we can stagger, versus if for example, I'm on an every 6 weeks or 8-week cadence of seeing a customer, maybe that interim step can be done virtually. And it's tremendously efficient because we all know how much time it takes to get to an airport, check in, go to the flight, get your rental car, do all, overnight hotel after the meeting or dinner. These are tremendous efficiencies that we can gain. They will not take the place of all of the customer communication face to face, but they are an incredibly valuable supplement to that, in my opinion.
It's really interesting to see how we're seeing silver linings through all of this experience about how our teams are finding new opportunities to take something away from it, which I think is a really positive message that we can all kind of get behind during these challenging times. One other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about is because your team is really on the front line for so many things for our customers, where very often these are products that are pretty critical to frontline response efforts in the COVID pandemic. I know that Micron has pledged at the corporate level a commitment of over $35 million in terms of response and relief efforts in the communities that we're in. But I thought it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit from you on some examples of how your team has actually been helping to kind of step up to the challenge.
Yeah, this has been if there's a silver lining of everything that's happened here, just to really feel the approach that the company takes to supporting, as you mentioned, through Micron Gives and through the initiatives that we've been pushing forward as a company. And then incredibly gratifying to see our team members and the creativity and the compassion that they have. A couple of the things that jump out is we've had one of our customers who's very prominent in the healthcare field was looking for very accelerated assessment of new memory onto ventilators that were built and put into the market, a generation ago when it comes to the technology on board. And they were really under an initiative to try to refurbish the ventilators and reuse them. And so they reached out to our team to say, can you help me kind of accelerate the qualification, check the signal integrity of this new device that you're shipping us, and make sure that that new device is still solid on this platform. And our team was working really throughout all hours of the day to accelerate that kind of confirmation to, get desperately needed medical equipment back in for usage to patients. So, that was super gratifying to the team, of course, because everybody wants to contribute in a time like this, and just awesome to hear that. The other thing that I've was talking with one of our leaders today about actually was that there are a number of folks in the team that, as side hobbies or just things that they enjoy to do, have 3D printers, and they've created a network of these 3D printers to print facial masks, and really are kind of collaborating and figuring out best practices so they can print more of these facial masks and donate them out into the community. So really some awesome things that people are doing, in addition to the incredible support that we've had thus far through Micron Gifts, which, I think it's just been fantastic that people in a time like this have, kind of reached in and where they could have supported things like that. So been incredibly satisfying in a very difficult environment to see those kind of steps taken by the Micron team.
It's an incredible story, because I think we don't really realize that very often there is something that's within many of our power to actually be able to make a difference. So it's really very inspiring to hear that the team members have been working to get these critically needed supplies out there in this way, and working with our customers. I can imagine that our customers are really appreciating when we do communicate more often with them. It sounds like in that case, there was a really strong collaboration with our customers. I think that's a real core value that your team certainly has. What are customers saying about how they're hearing from us?
Well, yeah, I do want to, I'm happy to address that. I did want to talk about the way our customers have reached out to us in such a positive way as well. We have received unsolicited personal protective equipment, primarily in the forms of masks, from many of our customers, many of them based in China, that feel like they have been able to flatten the curve and they're through the worst of it. And they've just proactively said, hey, our Micron partners, we want to donate this to you so that you and your team are able to be safe in this environment. And which is just an awesome move. We've in turn been very appreciative of that, and also utilize that to distribute to the medical community in the respective areas as well. So I think, our customers have, you learn a lot about your relationships in times like this, and those kind of reach outs have meant a lot. And I think just in general that, the fact that we're all in this together, we're all trying to work through, oftentimes you sit on the opposite side of a negotiating table from a customer, and that's the perspective that you get. And we always have to work to overcome that. And I think a lot of those normal business barriers, sure, everybody's doing the right thing for their company, there's no question about, but a lot of those typical business barriers have just been lowered a little bit, and everyone's taking a more, hey, let's do the right thing for, society and everything that we're facing today, which has, again, been incredibly gratifying to see that.
It's incredible to hear how really folks are coming together with a higher purpose in mind.
Yes.
Very exciting stories. And I think with that, maybe why don't we just wrap up with a little commentary on, speaking of kind of the benefit to society. I think many folks may have questions when they see a company, or many companies in general, that are still operating in a crisis like this one. And despite the fact that Micron has really taken some very early and proactive measures to protect our team members, which is one of our most important priorities, keep our partners and our customers safe. I wanted to touch on this with you, which is to say, why do we keep operating during a time like this? And why is it so important for our business to keep supporting our customers?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think it's a complicated question to answer. What I would start with is that the way we want to continue to operate is what we've done, which is operate in the manner that most protects our team members in a very dynamic and challenging market relative to the health side of the business, right? And we want to make sure that everyone is safe and we're creating the right environment to keep the business moving. I think frankly what Micron has built, where memory and storage fits into today's world, it's very much of an essential element. If you think about the global, I used a very small example of the healthcare side of things, and where we can contribute there. Certainly on the infrastructure side of our business, on the cloud, where people are really relying on the work from home and the educate from home. Those Chromebooks and notebooks and iPads that everybody with young children are deploying and figuring out how to use now are really driven and off of our technology and our memory. So sure, we want to keep the business strong. We want to keep the business healthy. I frankly think that Micron has never been as well positioned as we are right now. We certainly don't want to lose that. But again, beyond just the business element, I think there is a real value that we're creating, not just by our team member actions, but by our company initiatives to make sure we're enabling all the things that the world needs today to survive and have people in a happy state of mind and a good state of mind and keep their jobs and keep their families in a good place. So I'm quite proud of being part of the Micron team during this period.
We really do have a responsibility to our customers and to their customers to get these technologies out, because they are enabling keeping things going during these times. So it's great to hear you point that out, Mike. And maybe as we wrap up here, I've got one last question for you. Any surprises that you've encountered as you've been working remotely and working from home?
Surprises or challenges, I guess. It's crazy little surprise, but I'm never here during the day, and I didn't realize how chilly our house is in the middle of the day. So I find myself, I've just resisted cranking the thermostat up, so I find myself in sweaters a lot more than I normally have. And I guess the other challenge that I'm facing right now is it's amazing how quickly your hair grows when you have no ability to cut it. So I was talking to a number of folks via Zoom today and just seeing that, yep, that's a different look for that person, and I'm sure it is for me as well. And hey, we're all adapting, we're all in this together, so we're all figuring it out and learning together.
Well, the fun thing is we're getting to know other things about ourselves too
That's exactly right.
as we get to work remotely here. So there's definitely a little trend of quarantine beards that I think we're seeing out there.
That's
a lot
right.
of long bangs among some of the ladies who are resisting the temptation to cut them themselves. And maybe
Yep.
you're digging into a part of your closet that you didn't usually go to.
Yeah, for this time of the year, I didn't expect it for sure.
Well, that's great. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to share with us. I think this has been a great opportunity to get an insight as to how we're working with our customers, how we're partnering around the world. And thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Martina. And thanks to all the team members who are doing such a great job in this difficult environment.